Hey friends, welcome back to my channel for another video. Last week I shared my homeschool curriculum picks for my soon-to-be 8th grader, and today I'm excited to share what I will be using with my 7th grade twin girls for the upcoming year. Whether you're just curious about what we're doing or you're actively planning for your own 7th graders, I hope this gives you a helpful glimpse into what we're using and why. So if you haven't watched my 8th grade curriculum picks video, some of this will sound familiar because there is some overlap between what my 3 older kids do in our homeschool, which is something I really love about homeschooling, the opportunity for my kids to be together and learn together when possible. Of course, some subjects just need to be done separately because they work at different levels and they are actually 2 years apart in age. But for things like history and science, curriculum that's written to be more family style and be adaptable for a variety of ages is great to use because it simplifies things for me. And it's more fun to learn when we can have conversations and discussions all together because we're all learning the same things. So while there's a little bit that we combine, there are some subjects that my girls do on their own and some resources that are just for them. So I'll be walking through that in this video. Before we jump in, I want to give a quick thank you to BJU Press Homeschool for sponsoring this video. They sent us their 7th grade writing and grammar and literature curriculum to review and use this year. So I will definitely be sharing more about those resources in a bit. And I'll be sharing a fun event they're hosting that you'll definitely want to know about. So stay tuned for that. Okay, let's jump right into the curriculum picks. For math this year, my girls will be continuing with CTC Math. This curriculum has been a great fit for our family, especially during these middle school years where I want to encourage more independent learning, but still be involved when they need support. It's definitely not completely hands-off, but it does free up a lot of space for me where I would instead be teaching different math lessons to each of my kids each day. I have a few videos sharing about CTC Math, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it today, but if you're not familiar with it, it's an online math program with short video lessons, auto grading, and lots of built-in tools that make it really easy to customize and keep track of progress. It's been a solid, flexible option for our homeschool, especially with multiple kids working at different levels. For language arts this year, we are going to be using a few different resources. We are going to continue with writing and rhetoric. We began using this just a couple of months ago, and it's been such a helpful addition to our homeschool as a way to work on writing and communication skills. I just shared a flip through video of the book we are currently using, which is Narrative 2. So if you're curious about this curriculum, go check that out and it'll give you a pretty good idea about how it's laid out and what it contains. So as soon as we finish Narrative 2, we'll move on to Crea and Proverb, and we'll probably finish this in the first half of the new school year as it only takes about 3 to 4 months to work through these books. I'm really appreciating how the lessons in here go beyond just writing paragraphs and compositions. My kids are also practicing skills like outlining, summarizing, narration, and even giving impromptu speeches. That was a fun exercise we did the other week. But all these things are challenging my kids, and I'm hoping that as we continue to work through writing and rhetoric, they'll build more confidence in how they express themselves. Alongside that, we are also adding in Wordly Wise, book 7 for vocabulary. This will be our first time using this. I just chose the book that matched with their grade level, and I actually made a mistake in my 8th grade curriculum picks video. I thought I had bought book 7 for all 3 of my older kids to keep things a little bit easier on me and to only have to grade one version of vocabulary work each day. But as I was looking through my box to prep for this video, I saw a book 8 in there. So it turns out I did buy book 8 for my 8th grader. Makes sense. And my daughters will be doing book 7. I looked through a few options for vocabulary. With this one, I like the consistent format of each lesson. And the exercises give multiple ways to interact with and learn the vocabulary that look really meaningful. All right, next, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be using BJU Press for both literature, so here's that book, and writing and grammar this year. My girls have loved their BJU Press literature course this year, and they really wanted to keep using this curriculum for literature in 7th grade. Originally, I figured we'd just do what we're doing now, which is essentials in writing, for writing and grammar, and then just use BJU Press for literature. But then I realized that their English 7 online video lessons combine the literature, writing, and grammar. So we are just going to stick with BJU Press for all of this year and see how it goes. So English 7 combines that literature, vocabulary, grammar, and writing, all from a biblical worldview. And I love that about BJU Press and their English courses, really all their courses. You know, the focus is not just on academic skills, but also on helping kids become discerning readers and critical thinkers to see through that biblical lens and learn how to apply what they're learning to glorify and serve God. So with this course, there are 2 short video lessons each day, one for writing and grammar and one for the literature component. And then there should be a short assignment to complete in their workbooks. Now, when I say there are video lessons, that's just one of the options. You can choose to just purchase the textbooks and workbooks and teach this yourself, and that is a cheaper option. And I'll do a full review of this curriculum soon and show you what it includes and what it would look like if you chose to go that route. But I'll also show you the online video lessons option, because although it's pricier, it is a great alternative if you are looking for something that your kids can do more independently and you want that biblical worldview integration. My kids love the videos, and the teacher, Mrs. Kofer, she always makes the lessons really engaging. So I'm pretty confident that this will be a good fit. And let me know in the comments if you'll be interested to see the review and flip through of this soon. Now, like I mentioned earlier, BJU Press Homeschool is sponsoring this video, and I'm excited to tell you about an opportunity they're offering that I think many of you will want to join in on. BJU Press is hosting a free online homeschool party from April 21st through the 25th. It will be held in a special Facebook group, and it's going to be packed with helpful information, encouragement, and some amazing giveaways. Their online parties are always a big hit. Basically, if you've ever wished you could attend a homeschool convention without the travel, parking, or the crowds, this is for you. Guest speakers include Christy Faith. She's the author of Homeschool Rising and the founder of Thrive Homeschool Community. Will and Miki Anderson will be speaking. They're from the Culture Proof podcast. They are amazing. And then Tracy Klicka, who is a longtime homeschool mom and HSLDA leader, she will also be speaking. And of course, you'll also hear from some of the BJU Press curriculum authors and video course teachers, which will be great if you don't know much about them. But even if you don't currently use BJU Press curriculum in your homeschool, you should join in. There will be giveaways every day, including Amazon gift cards and online subject kits, and someone in attendance will take home a $500 Visa gift card and a full BJU Press video course grade kit of their choice. That is huge, you guys. That will be such a big blessing to whoever wins this prize. So if you've been curious about BJU Press or want to get a closer look at how their curriculum works, this is the perfect chance to do that without needing to travel or make any commitment. I'll drop a link in the description box below so you can sign up before the party starts on April 21st. And it just involves joining that Facebook group. I know events like this can be incredibly helpful, especially if you're still deciding on curriculum for next year. So I hope to see you in the group. Okay, let's move on to science. For science this year, my 7th graders will be doing Earth Science through Journey Homeschool Academy. And they'll actually be doing this alongside their older brother. It makes it a little bit easier on me to be able to have them all doing the same subject when possible. And since this curriculum, this course is designed for middle schoolers, it's going to work out well for us this year. Next year, they'll most likely be doing different science courses because my son will move into biology and my girls will probably take physical science, which they have not done yet. And what's interesting, what I like when I was researching this, is that Journey Homeschool Academy offers that course, physical science, as a high school option. So you can choose to complete it at a middle school or a high school level. So if we decide to, and if they're ready for it, we might be able to earn that high school credit when they're in 8th grade. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I like to think through these things and kind of plan out where we'll be long term if we like and stick with the curriculum, especially since we're getting closer and closer to high school. If you're not familiar with Journey Homeschool Academy, it's a video-based science curriculum that teaches from a biblical worldview, and it's structured in a way that I think will really work well for our family. Each week includes one video lesson. It includes optional but highly recommended reading, a comprehension quiz, and a lab activity. So I really think it's going to be just the right amount of structure without feeling overwhelming. I like the combination of video lessons and textbook readings, and I also like how the comprehension quizzes are graded automatically online, and they can't move on to the next lesson until they pass. There are also guided notes and study tools included to help build those study habits that are so important in middle school and high school. And right now, I really think we could use more of this. So I love that this is something that the curriculum creators thought was necessary and really were intentional to include in the course. Now, in my last video, my 8th grade curriculum picks video, I mentioned that this course recommends 2 different book options that tackle the age of the earth question from 2 viewpoints. I will admit, looking into each of these textbook options had been set on the back burner by me. I just hadn't gotten around to it yet and figured that I had time. So I also asked you guys which book you would choose. Would you choose one that aligns with your beliefs on the age of the earth, or would you choose one with the opposite viewpoint so that your kids could learn more about what the other viewpoint is? I loved reading your responses. You guys all had some great thoughts, and I thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this. Last week, I went down a bit of a rabbit trail looking into each of the 2 textbook options, as well as looking at some reasonings for the opposing viewpoints. And it's just so interesting to me. I agree with a lot of you that your stance on the age of the earth is not salvific. Your salvation is dependent on the work that Jesus Christ did on the cross on your behalf, but you do read arguments from the young earth side that say old earth viewpoints undermine the gospel and can possibly affect salvation if it leads to a misunderstanding of the fall and sin and why the cross was necessary in the first place, which I think is valid. But there are arguments that old earth creationists will use to counter that. And although I personally hold a young earth viewpoint, I think that it's important to know that there are some Christians who do believe that evolution was used in creation, that it's not just a secular viewpoint, but that some Christians believe this too, and they have solid arguments for their views. And it's important to share this with our kids while sharing our convictions and why we believe what we do. I think that can be a stumbling block if we completely ignore this, because they're going to hear about evolution. They're going to read text that describes millions of years and see that people will point to evidence that they claim supports this. And I also do want my kids to decide for themselves. If they decide that the evidence points to an old earth, I want them to know that they're not going to lose their salvation, that you can be a Christian and agree that evidence or theories that point to an old earth are interesting and really compelling. So anyway, I did go down a rabbit trail looking into arguments for both of these views a little bit. And I did decide that I'm going to use the textbook that aligns with my personal views, but absolutely talk about and learn about some arguments for the other side along with my kids. And I have heard from friends that this Earth Science course from Journey Homeschool Academy does a very good job with this instruction. So that was great to hear. BJU Press Earth Science is the book that Journey Homeschool Academy recommends that people use that takes a clear young Earth creationist viewpoint. The other book I pronounced this wrong in my last video, and I should have known better because it's a Latin word, novare, which means to renew. Novare Earth Science is written by Christians, but it's built on an old Earth viewpoint. And from what I can tell, I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like it offers young Earth as an option or discusses it at all. If you're interested, I will drop a couple of links in the description below that I came across as I went down this Google hole on this topic. Just a couple that I found interesting from both sides of the perspective. Bottom line, if you want a curriculum that teaches science from a young Earth, Bible integrated perspective, BJU Press is probably your best choice. Or if you're okay with an old Earth viewpoint and want your child to understand mainstream science a little bit more in depth, Novare might be a good fit. Just be prepared to supplement if you want to add in those young Earth discussions. I think it's great. It's so great to have these different options. You know, people say that homeschoolers indoctrinate their kids. Well, when I was growing up and I was in school, there was no other option. We didn't get to see multiple viewpoints or ways that people looked at data. It was just evolution. And I also wasn't taught how to think critically about what the Bible said lined up with that. It was just, you know, church stuff on Sunday, and that didn't have any bearing on what we learned in school. That was separate, that whole two-story viewpoint, right? And when I learned about these other viewpoints, it was really eye-opening. So it's a totally different experience being able to have these discussions with my kids. Okay, let's move on to history. For history this year, we'll be continuing with the mystery of history, moving into volume 2, which covers the medieval period. This is another one of the subjects I do with all 3 of my older kids together, and it's really become one of my favorite parts of our homeschool week. What I love about the mystery of history is the way it weaves together biblical and world history so that my kids can see how events in scripture align with what was happening in other parts of the world. Again, this was something I never thought about growing up. And even now, reading through the Bible and reading through history with this idea in mind that these events really happened at the same time, there was other stuff going on in the world as biblical history was happening and vice versa. You just aren't taught that in school. So I never put those kinds of things together. And I never liked history much anyways. It's much more interesting to learn about it now in this way. And the mystery of history uses a storytelling approach. It has a really personable, relatable tone when you're reading it that makes it easy to understand and really engaging, even for kids or moms who don't typically love history. We went pretty quickly through volume 1 this year just to try it out and at least read through the text. So when we get to volume 2, I'm planning to slow down and take the year to go deeper, include more of the hands-on activities, and spend time with things like the timeline and mapping components. We've enjoyed it this year, but I think these changes are going to make a big difference in how much we actually retain and enjoy along the way. We'll also be continuing our Latin studies in the fall with third form Latin from Memoria Press. I started teaching this series at our homeschool co-op several years ago, and we've stuck with it ever since. It's a pretty thorough program with a strong focus on grammar and vocabulary right now. And my girls have done really well with the slower, systematic approach that Memoria Press uses in their form series. This year, we're still very much in the grammar stage of Latin learning, and it can feel hard and tedious, but I think it's an important part of building towards those more advanced skills like translation and reading Latin text. So I'm trusting the process right now. All right, these last 2 things I mentioned in my 8th grade video as well. This year, I'm really hoping to be more intentional again about including art in our weekly routine. We have used creating a masterpiece in the past and really enjoyed it, but I'll admit I tended to let it slip as the year got busier. My girls especially love art, so I want to make sure we're making space for creativity again. One of the things that I love about creating a masterpiece is how professional the projects turn out. I try to frame them and display them in our homeschool room, and I really need to add to this collection. There is more wall space to fill. This is another curriculum that uses video lessons to guide the kids step by step, and there is a huge variety of media and styles to choose from for your projects. So this year, my goal is to plan out one project at a time, 1 month ahead of time, gather the supplies early, and make it a regular part of our schedule. We're also adding in Foundations in Worship from Master Books. You guys should check out this course if you're looking for a unique hymn study or something for your morning basket. This is designed for middle and high school students, and it dives into the meaning behind classic hymns, the stories of their writers, and how worship connects to our understanding of God. I've tried piecing together my own hymn studies before, but having a done-for-you resource like this makes it so much easier for me to be consistent. So I'm hoping that my kids, not only learn about the hymns themselves, but that it also will deepen their faith and help them understand why we worship and help that to become a more purposeful and meaningful part of their personal walks with the Lord. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm hoping it will do the same for me too. Finally, just one more thing that I'm adding just for my girls this year is a book called Virtuous by Nancy Wilson, and I found this on the Generations website. I've been looking for something that would help them dig a little deeper into what it means to live out their faith as young women as they get older. And this book looks like such a great resource. It covers 14 different virtues rooted in scripture and gives a lot of practical encouragement for how to pursue those in everyday life. It talks about things like our purpose as Christian women, what it means to be women of strength and courage, how we can be a light in our community, and why living a life of virtue still matters even when the world acts like it doesn't. The chapters are very short, but there are also discussion questions and little assignments included to help my girls really apply what they're reading. So I'm planning to just go through it slowly with my girls, maybe one chapter a week, and I'm hoping it opens up some great conversations as we grow together. So that's the full curriculum plan for my 7th graders this year. Like most homeschoolers, I'm sure we'll adjust a little here and there as the year goes on, but I really feel good about the direction we're heading. I will leave links to everything I mentioned in the description below so you can check out anything that looked interesting to you. If you have a 7th grader, I'd love to hear what you're using or plan to use, or if you have any questions about the resources I mentioned, feel free to drop them in the comments. And don't forget to check out the free BJU Press Online Party next week. I will link to it below so you can go join the group now. It's gonna be such a helpful opportunity if you're still exploring your options or just wanna learn more or maybe even win some great prizes. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.